Back live from Radio Row, Big 12 Media Days in Frisco. John Kurtz, joined now by Scott Draper, who is the Big 12 Chief Football and Competition Officer. Appreciate you taking some time for me,
Thanks
Scott.
for being here. Yeah, good to see you.
All right, so if you were to give me like a state of the union on Big 12 football right now, where do you think things are at after last year?
Well, I think integrating the 8 new schools in 2 years for last year, this is the first year we're not adding anybody.
Yeah.
So just the continuity of the league and continuity of the teams and building, doing different rivalry games over this course of the season. Our league's going to be really good this year. The quality of the players, the quality of the coaching is really, really good at a high level. So I'm looking forward to a great year starting, in Ireland, obviously in week 0. Some great week 1 matchups, certainly with, Nebraska and Cincinnati playing on Thursday night, kicking off and leading through like 4 straight days that weekend of us playing football. So excited about where we're headed and looking forward to get the season.
Yeah, so your title, Big 12 Chief Football and Competition Officer. For those who aren't as familiar with that, like what all goes into that role? I'm sure it's a ton. So what is top of the list?
So I have the responsibility to oversee all 25 of our sports, but primarily in football. I'm the head football lead and manage all the aspects of the football program. So that goes to the building the football schedule, to managing our bowl partners, television partners, and then the day-to-day operations of the league. The biggest job that I have in the fall, though, is our officiating program. So I oversee our officiating program, and that really is the most important job that I have in the fall for sure.
How tough of a task is putting together that schedule?
Well, it's a year-round project. There's no doubt about that, and because there's always ebbs and flows to it. There's always changes that have to be made to non-conference games to accommodate, a campus need or whatever that might be. So we work year-round on it, and then we start in the fall and build it. We work with our tech partners to run models. Last year, I think I saw 500 different schedule models. After a while, they kind of all look the same, and you got to find the nuances in it. I work with our TV partners to make sure that what we're delivering to them is what they need. And the overarching goal of all of it is to get the best games in the best window so the most people can see it. That's a little harder than when you have 16 teams. Candidly, it's a little harder when you have 2 buys in the season because there's all the buys. Next year we're a 1-bye year, and it'll be a little bit more balanced that way. But it's fun and we enjoy it.
I feel for you guys because the protected rivalries thing, like I know I saw people, people get frustrated about who gets chosen there, but I'm like, man, exactly what you said, you have that many teams, that much to manage with a schedule. It seems like an almost impossible task to figure it all out. Like, what would you say to people who are frustrated sometimes by some of the protected rivalries?
Well, I think that when you have a league of 16 and you're trying to build a rotation, we have a rotation that we publicized of who plays who and where for 4 years to balance that for 16 schools across the multiple time zones. The more constraints you put on that, the harder that is to do. And so when you're building a league, when you're building 8 new schools in 2 years that haven't spent a lot of time playing each other, you need to have some flexibility in how to make that happen. So doing that with the games that we chose to protect allowed us to create different games and different rivalries and build a schedule that is balanced, time zones, travel, all the things that we have to do.
How much of an asset is, someone was just asking me a second ago from Salt Lake about the Holy War, how much of an asset is that for the league and trying to showcase that matchup that you guys have there?
Well, all of them, all the games are impactful and mean a lot. Rivalry games, in-state rivalry games in particular, they have a little bit different flavor to them, right? So they certainly add value to the league. We pay special attention to those to make sure that when we build the schedule, they're in places that most people can see them, that the competitive aspects of the games, the teams that they play going into it and coming out of it are somewhat balanced. So, my first 19 years were at the University of Michigan, so I'm used to rivalry games, Ohio State, Michigan State. So those games are really, really important. And, we take that job. I take that job very serious here in the Big 12 and just trying to make sure that we do everything we can to elevate those as best as possible.
The other thing that's tough as I think about this is, okay, so last year, I think to me it was very clear, like BYU did not get the at-large recognition that they probably should have or consideration that they probably should have. But like if you're trying to feature the best teams in the league, you had the 2 stories of the league where a team picked 13th and 16th last year in the conference. So you have that level of parity. Like how tough is it trying to match up the schedule for like maximum visibility for the best games?
Well, you saw some of that in, our announcement to eliminate the media poll. that was evidenced last year in terms of where those two teams started and where they finished.
Yeah.
That's a narrative that is maybe not necessarily positive for the league,
Sure.
given the competitive balance that we have in the league. And candidly, the way college athletics is now, and college football in particular, you really don't know who's good and who's not until you start playing some games. And we have to build this schedule in December and release it in January, February. So before the season really is even over, you don't really know who's on whose team. So all of those dynamics go into it as we look at where the transfer portal windows will be next year. Hopefully they'll be in January. We'll have a better sense of what the rosters will look like. But when there's two transfer portal windows, one in January or December and one in the spring, it's darn near impossible to know who's going to be on whose roster.
Yeah, it is. How important are games like you've got Baylor playing Auburn in the non-con this year, like TCU's playing at North Carolina, but I guess also I think Oklahoma State, Oregon, getting cracks at teams from the Big Ten and the SEC when you need as much juice as you can get there. How important are games like that?
Well, having home games against really quality non-conference opponents is great for the league. It's great for our fans, and it's great for us to start the season off on the right foot. We also have some really big non-conference road games, Oregon, North Carolina, so places in some competitive environments that if we do well, sets the league up strong in the first part of the season. That's a winning formula. That's something that is really, really important. And then every game after that is looked at differently, seen differently. You get more teams ranked, and then you have more ranked matchups later in the year. There's a whole formula to it that's really, really important.
What do you foresee as the biggest challenges to getting the league to a place where you can at least close the gap, right, with the Big Ten and the SEC, get more national recognition for the league and respect for the league?
Well, I think we do have respect, candidly. I think there's a narrative that we're aware of that there are two leagues and there's everyone and that's somewhat they've earned some of that because of their play over the last 10 years. But that doesn't mean in the age of the way college athletics is going now that's how it's going to be in the future. I think the way the rules are going to be set up are going to help college football be strong for a long, long time. I know what it's like to be at one of the blue bloods, and I understand what that means to those fans and what that means to the Big Ten Conference. And that's an important program for them. We have 16 programs in our league that have the desire, the ability, and the want to and the means to be really, really good every year. If we get the rules right, if we work together, stay together, we can have a really great league.
Yeah, the 5+11 playoff format, obviously, that Brett Yormark has been pushing. I assume that kind of folds into that sort of attitude and mentality, right? Like we need to go earn it.
He said it. I mean, earning it on the field is fundamental to college football and college athletics. I think when you have 4 different leagues that play, different number of conference games, that impacts how the format is done. Structures of conferences. Not everybody plays everybody. Different numbers. So there's all these variables that impact what it means to play on the field, and having as many opportunities as possible for as many teams as possible to start the season. Is I think is good for college football.
When you look at like what Texas Tech has done to really kind of shake up the apple cart, so to speak, with what they've done in the portal, number 1 portal class, like how important can things like that be to raising some of the just eyeballs that are going to be on a team like Texas Tech throughout the year in the broadcast?
Well, I think if you think about what the new world is, it's talent acquisition, it's managing your roster, and developing those players to play really, really good football. It's beyond recruiting high school players, and so there's a lot of layers to that, and doing it well, doing it at a high level is not just Texas Tech, but there's others in the league that are doing it as well. I think will pay off. That's been a winning formula in this new era. The 4 teams that were in the Final Four last year were high resource, high payroll teams. So that matters too, right? So you just gotta. It's a balance. Our coaches yesterday talked a lot about it. I'm sure you're going to hear that from the guys today about that's an important aspect of college athletics, but it's not the only thing, right? There's more to it. It's developing the players. It's building young men into strong husbands, fathers in the future. That DNA of college athletics and college football still exists. Certainly exists amongst the coaches in the Big 12.
Yeah, as you think about what you hear from the coaches when you talk to them throughout the league, like what do you think right now are the things they feel like are going well in the Big 12, and what do they have as like things, hey, we want to see elevated or improved in the future?
Well, I think a lot of the conversation now is just on the global aspect of college football, the rules, what the transfer portal windows will look like, what the football calendar looks like, that uncertainty, those decisions that are being made right now for the fall. We've got to get many of those things done in the short-term CFP format. I mean, all these global kind of decisions that are happening impact their day-to-day more than any particular thing that I could do. So my job is to make sure they're informed, but more importantly, make sure that their voice is heard in the committees that I have and the voice that the Big 12 has in all these discussions, not only with me, but with the commissioner, that we carry their voice. And that's a really big part of my job.
Yeah. Well, I'm a K-State guy. I've got definitely a lot of K-State fans in the audience here. The game in Ireland will be a spotlight matchup for the Big 12. You got it next year, too, with TCU and North Carolina. How important is that to take advantage of that? I feel like almost comparing it to like, hey, Big 12 Media Days is early July before anybody else is doing this, right? It gets more of a spotlight.
What a great way to start the season, right?
Yeah.
Iconic brands, two rivals playing in a great game in Ireland. Happy for the programs, happy for the players, happy for the fans to be able to experience what is going to be a great football game. It always is. And the added element this year of it being the first game for both of them will be really interesting to me to watch. Yeah. And both teams will likely be ranked going into it. And so it's going to be a great football game.